When current medical science has run out of options and doctors don't know where to turn, artificial intelligence might be able to help, particularly when it comes to extreme cases.
It gives me hope.
Medics are getting more and more assistance from computer technology these days. We're not talking about any kind of superpowers, but valuable tools.
We don't want to get rid of specialist eye doctors. We want to empower them. We want to give them better equipment and make them better ophthalmologists who can treat patients more effectively.
They see artificial intelligence as a big opportunity, one that can take medicine into completely new dimensions. But some fear AI.
I can completely understand that AI applications can make people wary.
So what does artificial intelligence mean for medicine? How can it help to improve people's lives? Cornelia Nitzer hasn't been living in this small apartment in northern Berlin for long. The 63-year-old had never imagined that she would move home again, until fate turned her family's life upside down. Her daughter Anna Nitzer suffered a stroke shortly after the birth of her second child. Since then, she's been unable to move or communicate. The name of her condition is locked-in syndrome. It has changed everything.
Here you can see how pretty my daughter is. She was pregnant there, you can tell.
Her daughter needs round-the-clock care. Her son-in-law and grandchildren are on their own. Cornelia Nitzer is trying to do what she can to support the young family. It's been 2 years now since that fateful day.
She suffered brain hemorrhaging and a stroke. Someone from the neighborhood said that they must have spent about half an hour resuscitating her in the ambulance.
Cornelia Nitzer is only left with memories. Her daughter, a psychology graduate, was a happy, fun-loving person. Now her family can only guess what she's feeling.
She can't talk. If she moves like this, you can tell something isn't right, but you're helpless. You can't do anything, really.
Several times a week, Cornelia Nitzer helps her son-in-law with the household and with the children, so they at least get a bit of normality.
The children are suffering because they are without a mother. The girl is growing up without a mom.
The couple had just built their own home when Anna had a stroke. Her husband, Nikolai Nikiforov, was suddenly left to deal with everything on his own.
Kolya? Everything's open. Hi there. I'm here now.
The 37-year-old IT specialist often works from home. After his wife's stroke, he tried to care for her at home, but it was too much for him and the children. Nowadays, Anna Nitzer lives in a care home. Her condition, and then the separation from her, has placed a great strain on them.
The first year was very difficult. In the meantime, we've come to terms with it to some extent. We've got a routine set now. We visit her once or twice a week together.
But in the care home too, communication remains the biggest problem.
I visited Anna on Wednesday. She was quiet at first, but then she started crying. I think she still has bursts of pain.
Her family and nursing care personnel can only guess how Anna Nitzer is feeling. Recognising the needs of locked-in syndrome sufferers and looking after them 24/7 is a strenuous business.
I've tried to work out a code with her, that a slow blink stands for yes and 2 blinks for no. But you can't call that proper communication. My biggest wish would be that this were somehow possible again.
The family's hopes are resting on research being carried out at Berlin's Charité hospital. Nikolai Nikiforov contacted scientists there a few weeks ago.
I came across a video by the professor. I think it was a TEDx talk where he showed what progress was being made in the treatment of stroke patients. My biggest goal would be re-establishing some form of communication.
Making this dream come true is what Professor Surjo Soekadar hopes to achieve with his research. The neurotechnology specialist is working on solutions that could help patients like Anna Nitzer to communicate again, using artificial intelligence and the communication between brain and computer. To put it simply, the human thinks and the computer acts.
It's my goal to improve conditions so as many people as possible can benefit from this technology and see their quality of life improve. And I won't let the setbacks slow me down.
Neurotechnology, which connects our nervous system with computers, aims to help people like Anna Nitzer have a new life. At Berlin's Charité hospital, there have already been successful tests with patients who are partly paralysed. Guido Schulze used to work as a painter. 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with a brain tumour. During an operation, a blood vessel burst in his brain. Since then, he's been paralysed on his left side.
I can't actively open or close my hand. I also can't even do it in my thoughts. When we are healthy, we don't give it a second thought. We just make a movement. And now I really have to try to do something, and it's not easy.
Today, Guido Schulze is testing whether he might be able to use his hand better by using a so-called hand exoskeleton. The wearable technology is controlled by his thoughts.
We are doing this so we can reorganize the brain. And this reorganization should have a favorable effect on restoring function.
Reorganize. It sounds as if everything here is jumbled up and will have to be sorted again.
The idea is that uninjured parts of the brain will take over the functions of the affected areas. Together with the exoskeleton, Guido is given a cap that can read his electrical brain signals. When the patient thinks about moving his hand, the computer recognises that impulse and saves it, comparing it with the signals that his brain emits when he's not actively thinking. The computer is only able to learn because of the information that was taught to it by human programmers. They have fed it with algorithms and commands that help it increasingly better understand when Guido Schulze wants to move his hand. Like right now, the program understands what to do.
The bottle is now firmly in my hand. As a healthy person, you can't imagine it. It's crazy. You want to close your hand and it just happens. A bit spooky. Like something from science fiction.
The prototype is still being tested. Machines that can read your thoughts. That sounds frightening and is the source of much public debate. Many people are critical of artificial intelligence.
In my opinion, this form of intelligence cannot be compared with human intelligence. We're talking about computers that have been programmed to follow certain rules. If we raise awareness about how these systems actually function, it will become clear to everyone that they are not intelligent at all. They don't possess intelligence in the way we humans do.
Professor Soekadar would like his research to help people in extremely difficult situations, such as Anna Nitzer trapped in her own body, or Guido Schulze, who is paralysed on one side.
The exoskeleton has stimulated my hand. That gives me hope that it might improve. I can imagine that if you train it over a longer period of time, that it will return to life. That's what we hope for, right? That it will get back to normal.
Stoppsignal mit Augen.
Here on the outskirts of the Austrian capital is where Oskar Slamala lives with his wife Heide Marie. The retiree suffers from age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. It can lead to a severe loss of vision.
Weiß ich gar nicht mehr, war die weiß oder war die rosa? Keine Ahnung. Weiß nicht mehr. Ich auch nicht.
Fluid is collecting in his eyes and is slowly destroying his eyesight.
The worst-case scenario doesn't bear thinking about. It would mean that I would have to fundamentally change my life.
Oskar Slamala has worn glasses since he was a child, but one day, all of a sudden, his vision started to deteriorate.
3 years ago, I really started to notice that my eyesight was failing.
He did an Amsler grid test.
This test involves taking a piece of paper with a grid and covering one eye at a time. You look at it and see whether all the lines are running parallel or whether they look wavy. If they are wavy, it's a clear sign that something is wrong. The problem is that if it isn't treated quickly, it can lead to a loss of vision, and that is awful.
What's awful about the disease is that many patients suffer an extreme loss of vision, even if they do get treatment. Oskar Slamala hopes to avoid that by going for regular checkups at Vienna General Hospital. And patients like Oskar Slamala regularly get a drug injected directly into their eyes. But it's unpleasant and doesn't work well for everyone.
That looks good. How many injections has the patient already had?
He's already had 12.
Using magnification, the doctor can get only a rough idea of any changes to the retina. But it's hard to tell how far the disease has progressed from these white areas, which makes treatment difficult, and it's hard to know what dosage would be required.
We want to carry out as many of these injections as necessary, but as few as possible. Each injection into the eye hurts and carries the risk of infection. The medication is also expensive. It contains small, specially produced quantities of antibodies, and patients get these injections for the rest of their life. It's important that we do that as economically as possible.
It often costs €1,000 per injection. That's why the doctors in Vienna want to take a closer look at Oskar Slamala's eyes. An imaging procedure is used to give a cross-section view of the eye and retina. It lets the doctors better assess the extent of the disease.
The retina is raised there. The retina is very sensitive. It consists purely of nerve cells, which should not be interfered with. In this case, fluid is gathering under the retina, which is lifting it up.
But the procedure doesn't reveal exactly how much fluid has gathered there. So Professor Schmidt-Erfurt decided to design a program that can do just that. It was fed with the data of many other patients with the same condition, and it can tell exactly how much fluid pools under the retina, in blue here. The program allows Oskar Slamala's treatment to be tailored.
Knowing how this treatment works has given me a whole different perspective on things. Personally, I feel much more reassured.
Please take a seat. Today we've measured 45 nanoliters. That's roughly what it was last time, so we won't have to treat you today.
Thanks for the information. It's good to know these possibilities are now available.
It's a big vision for the future. This eye exam only takes fractions of a second. It's not invasive, is reasonably priced, and can be performed anywhere and assessed with the help of artificial intelligence. And it can replace many other invasive procedures.
AI can potentially make diagnostic detective work easier, keep medical costs down, and, most importantly, reduce human suffering. In Berlin, Anna Nitzer has come to spend 2 hours at home with her family. Professor Soekadar's team has come to try out a new communication system with them.
Hallo. Super. 2 starke Männer und eine starke Frau. Also manche sagen, es ist das Gleiche.
Since her stroke, Anna Nitzer has been suffering from locked-in syndrome. She can't move her body, but she is fully conscious and can hear everything. Yet she cannot communicate.
Ja, genau. So ist es.
The doctor wants to change that with the help of AI.
What we would like to achieve is to create an interface which is based on bodily signals that are very easy to control.
The aim is that Anna Nitzer will be able to learn how to communicate using eye movements. But the young woman's condition is different day to day. Sometimes she's just not up to it.
Anna, are you in pain again? I don't know whether to touch her or not. Well, she's crying. Maybe she's in pain, but we don't really know.
It quickly becomes apparent that Anna Nitzer won't manage to take part in the test today. But the family too needs to learn the system, so that they will be able to work with Anna independently. It's the first step on a long journey.
What we are seeing now is the simplest form of test with which we can try to restore communication in locked-in syndrome with blinking or eye movements.
The principle is that the computer learns certain eye movements and carries out commands associated with them. For example, turning a light on or off.
Look, it turns off and then on.
But it's not as simple as it looks. To work it, you have to be able to move your eyes both vertically and horizontally. Anna Nitzer can only do that now and again, and it takes a lot of effort. But the system nevertheless offers the first glimmer of hope to the family.
I think we'll manage it. We'll continue practicing with it. But also we have to take into account that Anna's condition also varies widely. It depends on how much concentration she can muster.
Today her concentration is at its limit. The 2-hour visit is over before Anna Nitzer can try out the system herself.
It's time for Anna to go back now.
In the next few weeks and months, Professor Soekadar's team will keep on trying. It's a drawn-out process, but everyone is hoping that Anna Nitzer and her family will learn to communicate with one another again. In Essen University Hospital in Western Germany, Lilly Lohmann has come for an important checkup. 4 weeks ago, her son Thomas donated half his liver to his mum, saving her life.
I was asked, and of course I said yes, because your parents also give you a lot. Part of being a parent is also about sacrifice. I was asked, and I thought, yes, just do it.
Of course, along the way, you start having doubts. You ask, am I doing the right thing? What am I doing to my son? Something could go wrong.
At Essen University Hospital, more than 100 organ transplants are carried out each year. As a so-called smart hospital, it also works with artificial intelligence. In the transplant centre, computer science experts and doctors, like Professor Arzu Echelek and Dr. Felix Nenzer, work together. Calculating the size of the liver correctly is vital for a transplant's success. A CT scan creates a multi-layered image of the organ. The doctor then marks the liver tissue. It's not a very exact procedure. Artificial intelligence can scrutinise each image more closely.
The AI basically ensures that a human doesn't have to draw anything by hand. It can determine the difference between liver tissue and other tissue on every single layer.
This was how the AI calculated the exact location of Thomas Lohrmann's liver. His mother was given exactly half. A mistake in the calculation could have been fatal.
Knowing these measurements is critical. We can't open her up and say, oh, it's too small, and sew her up again. That really shouldn't happen. That's why it's extremely important for us to ensure that the calculation is exactly right. Vitally important. That's why Dr. Nenzer made one manual drawing based on his observation, and then one with the help of artificial intelligence.
And you did the same for my son, too?
Exactly. If we humans wanted to be as precise as the AI, we'd probably need to invest not just half an hour, but an hour and a half or so. Luckily, with AI, you can do it in seconds.
An examination that's considerably faster and more precise. It offers a better chance that the valuable organ will not be rejected.
The liver works really, really well, and the doctor operating on me told me to take good care of it.
Mother and son can look ahead again with optimism. They're not concerned about having their data stored centrally in the hospital.
I'm happy for them to have the data. If something happened, they'd be able to act immediately.
Yet critics often cite data privacy issues as one of the reasons for scepticism about artificial intelligence. But research data is always anonymised. Oliver Esther is in charge of tracking the AI's development. In this case, the program is learning how to potentially distinguish between healthy and sick liver cells.
It's possible to observe the development process and see what progress is being made during training. You have to imagine it is like an ongoing program. You have to be able to see how good it is at every stage of the training.
And yet artificial intelligence is only as good as the data it's supplied with and the people programming it.
It is called artificial intelligence, but it is completely artificial and there is nothing intelligent about it. Being able to react intelligently to a new challenge, that's something that we humans can do and AI can't.
Humans are intelligent, machines are precise and quick. Modern medicine is making the most of these combined strengths. Professor Soekadar's team at Berlin's Charité hospital has been visiting Anna Nitzer for months now to develop a new form of communication for her. With some success, she is starting to express herself with eye movements.
First, you see her blinking normally, and then she makes a definite eye movement to switch on the light.
Their first success, a tiny one, but one that's encouraging for all concerned.
I would say she has made progress, but progress is slow, and while some expectations are fulfilled, others aren't. These learning processes need time.
To make progress easier, more efficient and less exhausting, the researchers are now trying out a new type of sensor. These so-called quantum sensors measure the magnetic fields above the skull very precisely. They would mean that patients like Anna Nitze would no longer need to make tiring eye movements to be able to communicate.
A system like this would enable Ms. Nitze to clearly communicate what might be causing her discomfort, and on the other hand, to organise her personal care. For example, to communicate whether she wants to sit up or lie on her side.
At present, the system can only be used in a laboratory setting.
Alles verstanden soweit?
Ja.
Dann geht's jetzt los.
Here in Berlin, the IT specialists are also developing the AI's learning process at the same time. In real time, the programs are combing through the huge quantities of data produced during the measurements. They're looking for patterns. That's how they learn to distinguish between a person's brain signals. That ability is key to artificial intelligence.
Ultimately, it's always about the interaction between humans and technology, and improving this interaction, so you no longer notice where one starts and the other stops. It's about combining these powers so that people with restricted movement can move again, putting this at their disposal so they can manage everyday life like everyone else.
For Anna Nitze and her family, Professor Soekadar's research could mean an enormous step forward, making their lives a bit easier and introducing a bit of normality.
I see it as the only chance to help us, to help my wife.
We hope that science makes swift progress, so a lot of people can be helped. My daughter's not the only one affected. There are no doubt quite a few people like her. It's not just a few isolated individuals.
Artificial intelligence can help to improve healthcare by improving diagnostic procedures and cutting costs. But blind enthusiasm is just as misplaced as blind distrust. If it can help us to reduce suffering, we shouldn't be afraid of using AI.
Ja, ich dachte, so 20 Minuten machen wir eine Runde und dann gehen wir nochmal zurück. Geht das